Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. As always, if you're liking the content of previous videos, please hit that thumbs up button and give me a like. Equally, if you do like it even more and you want to see more, subscribe and you can hit the notification bell and that will tell you when new content is out. So as you can see, I've got the second copy or issue 2 of Combat Patrol. I didn't pick up the first one. I missed that for some reason, which is a bit of a shame because I understand it comes with some very good free models, and I believe the first copy was less than a fiver. I don't know the exact price. Issue 2 costs £7, and this issue focuses on Tyranids, and in particular, as you can see from there, you get 3 Von Ryan's Leapers, which are part of the Tyranid army for 40k. I don't know much about it because I don't play the game, but the models look excellent. But the booklet here kind of like shows you the step-by-step instructions on how to build it. It tells you a little bit about Combat Patrol. I'm not going to go through it because I'm sure someone else has probably done a far better insight into it than I could do. I'm going to concentrate on making the Tyranid, or the Von Ryan's Leaper in particular. We'll paint it, we'll base it, and we'll have a look at it when it's finished. But for now, I'm going to go and make it, I'm going to construct it, and I'll bring it back and I'll show you what it looks like. So the Leaper has now been constructed, as you can see, and what I've done, I've primed it in grey and then given it a zenithal highlight with wraith bone and also some white. So you can see there that the lighter bits are at the top and the darker bits are underneath where the light maybe wouldn't hit. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give it a very once over coat of a 3 to 1, so 3 parts Lahmian Medium and 1 part Carroburg Crimson, or however you pronounce it. I'm not very good with the names of the Games Workshop paints and shades, but it is a Games Workshop shade. Carroburg Crimson, I think it's called. So there's 1 part Carroburg Crimson to 3 parts Lahmian Medium, and I'm going to coat the complete model in that 100% because that's going to be the base for its skin. So we'll do that, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like once it's dried. Okay, so the Leaper has now had the coat of the 3 to 1 mix of Carroburg Crimson and Lahmian Medium. And as you can see, it's given it a good all over kind of a tint of pink to give it a lovely skin colour, as in the artwork that you can see in the Games Workshop website. So just give it that quick flip over. You can see it's also gone into all the little crevices to give it a bit of depth and darkness and shadow. So the next step that we're going to do with the Leaper is we're going to fill in his joints between his wrists and his ankles and knee joints. I think he's got about 3 knee joints, 2 or 3 knee joints there. And they're like the sinew, if you like. And for what we're going to use for that is we're going to use this, which is Guilliman Flesh. We're going to use this straight from the pot. It's a contrast paint, this. So there's plenty of videos online about contrast paints. So if you want to look for those first before you use them, if you're not sure. If you're confident enough, then just go for it and fill in the little sinews between that. When I say the sinews, I kind of mean the joints between his arms and legs. So if I just bring him up to you, you'll see. So the sinews, for example, on this would be there at his elbow joint, there between his claw and his wrist. I think there's some down here on his feet and on his knees, like there, for example. You can't really see that if you bring that up. Just there. So we're going to do that, and then we're also going to use Carroburg Crimson, but in its pure form. Instead of diluting it like we did for this stage, we're going to use pure Carroburg Crimson, which you can see there on the table, and we're going to use that in the little vents that are on his legs. You can see on the tail, on the legs, sorry, excuse me, they've got like little vents. There's one. So we're going to fill them in with pure Caribou Crimson. So once I've done the Guilliman flesh and the Caribou Crimson, we'll come back and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so the Leaper has now had the Guilliman flesh and the Caribou Crimson put into the places that I said it would go. So as you can see, if I spin this round, you've got it into the tendons and into the sinew, the darker sort of browny colour, which is the Guilliman flesh. And then if you look into the actual like vents on his leg there, you can see on his thigh and also on his arms or her arms. You can see that there is, I'll just get that in focus, that's where the Caribou Crimson's been in. So that's already starting to look good. It's starting to take shape. The next stage we're going to do is the carapace armour. And the carapace armour we're going to do with another contrast paint. And that one is going to be called Leviathan Purple. So we're going to paint that onto all the carapace armour that we can see, which is all on his back, or her back, whatever she is, or it is, whether it's a he or a she, or I don't know, or a thing. So we're going to put it all on there, let that dry, come back and see how that looks. Okay guys, so I've completed the carapace armour on this one, as you can see from there, and I'll just give you a quick rundown on how I've done that. So if you look to the left, you'll see there's Leviathan purple contrast paint. So that was painted all over the carapace armour quite carefully, because otherwise you were going to catch it onto the skin and you don't want to do that. I then proceeded, after that was dried, what I did after that was I did a dry brush over with various different shades, which you can see down there of purple. I think one of them is Genestealer purple, moving all the way up to, is it Decathlon or Decalon lilac? I can never pronounce these Games Workshop names. They're very complicated. I really don't know what they mean. But anyway, they're just different grades of colour of purple, going from darker to lighter. And as you can see, that's what it looks like on the beast. And if I bring that up closer, you'll see I've also painted in some striations onto the carapace armour. That just gives it a little bit more texture. You can see that. And that's the armour complete on that one. I'm now going to move on to do the claws and any sort of hooves that he's got or she's got. So it's got spikes on it as well. So any claws, spikes or hooves, I'm going to paint in black. And then we'll move on to the next part after that. So the Leaper has now had some further work done on it. It's had the claws and spikes painted in black, and then dry brushed with various different shades of grey up to the highlights. I've completed the talons that come off of his mouth. Yeah, they're kind of like tentacle type things. They've been painted in blue, and I'll show you them in a second. So if you have a look at that, you can probably see his tentacles in blue. So they've been done and shaded in Dragonhof Nightshade for the darker areas. And the claws have been done in black with, like I said, with various different shades of grey. I've done the eyes as well, which look like they're like compound eyes on this one. So I don't know whether you can see that. If I point that paintbrush in there as a pointer, you'll see that the eyes are sort of yellow and orangey colours. They've been washed and highlighted. And they are, like I said, they look like a compound eye, a bit like what a fly's got. So if you look at that, both angles, that's complete. So I'm going to call this Reaper complete now. And what I'm going to do now is move on to the basing. So I've already made a start on that, and I just want to share with you exactly what I have done. So I'll put him to the side for now. So I wanted to do him on a bit of a thematic base. So I've done a base there, And all that is a piece of cork that I've shaped, and that's going to be sort of rock. So I'm going to cover that in some basing compound to make it a bit earthy, and then there'll be bits of rock sticking out of there. And on top of that, I wanted to put some greenery and plants in, but I wanted to put some exotic plants. So I've made this to go on there. Now that is kind of like almost a prehistoric looking plant. I'm going to have that on there somehow. Sorry about that. That's going to be on there. If I pull that up a bit, you can see that I've made that. It's just made out of a bit of plastic, and I will do a separate video if people want to on how I made that. But basically it's made from this. I found this thing here at a garden centre and I bought it. You can buy them fairly cheaply, and you just pull the leaves off and stick them together and it makes prehistoric plants. Obviously I'm going to paint it because it's got a sort of plasticky look to it and I don't like that look. So I'm going to paint that with the airbrush, do it some different shades, give it a bit of depth and some highlight. And that's going to be placed on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to carry on and base the leaper now. And when we come back, I'll show you what it's like completed. So here we have the leaper, and it is now completely based and finished. I'm going to call this one completed now. I've painted the rim of the base. I've added all the foliage and all different stuff like that. If I just grab hold of him and show you a bit closer, you can see there I've added some plants which were the plastic plants that I showed before. They've had a coat of matte varnish on them to matte them down, and the big one that I actually made I've painted. It's given it a better look. I think in hindsight I probably should have painted the 3 bracken bits at the bottom, but I haven't. I've also added some wet effects by Vallejo, and then on top of that I put some gloss varnish by Vallejo because I didn't like the look of the wet effects. It wasn't wet enough. So that kind of simulates a bit of a swampy area on top of underneath these rocks, and the leaper is just leaping from there onto its prey. So I'm going to put this on the turntable now for you to have a better look. And as always, thanks for watching. If you do like the videos that I've been doing and the content I've been making, then please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. It just helps the channel, and I'm going to make some more videos. So stay tuned and see what we make as we go along. Okay, thanks very much and enjoy the turntable.